A question from YouTube, Muhammad Musikus Salehin Rahat. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. Dear Sheikh, is it allowed to study in Christian missionary school? Or if a student has sufficient knowledge about Islam to protect his deen, can he study in a missionary school? The brother asked a question that can a person study in a Christian missionary school? Or if he has sufficient knowledge of his deen, and if he can protect his deen, can he study in a Christian missionary school? Point number one, as an option, it is best not to study in a Christian missionary school. If an Islamic school or a Muslim managed school, an Islamic school is the best, which has Islamic studies and Islamic ethos, etc. If you don't have Islamic school, then a Muslim managed school is better than a non-Muslim managed school. And you're asking the question that if I have you as a young person, a young boy going to a school, a person going to a school has to be a child, maybe 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, in the teens. If he has sufficient knowledge of the deen to protect his deen, can he study in a missionary school? How can you expect a boy of 5 years old, 10 years old, 9 years old to have sufficient knowledge of the deen to protect his deen? Even if he has sufficient knowledge, if he has knowledge, all the more reason he will not go to a Christian missionary school. And to say that sufficient to protect his deen, it's a hypothetical statement. For the person who's a child, he gets impressed by the teachers, etc. So if you ask me, it is preferable to study in an Islamic school. If not Islamic school, then at least a Muslim managed school, as compared to a Christian missionary school. But if you have no option and if you have no choice, as a last resort, I wouldn't say it is haram, I would say it is makruh, but naturally the deen is in danger, but it's not haram. But if you go to a Christian missionary school and you realize that you are deviating from your deen, then it becomes haram. And there are high chances you deviate. But let me tell you for information that I studied from St. Peter's High School, that's in Masgon, in Mumbai, in India. It was a Protestant school. It was a missionary school, you could say. And I studied in the school, but that school, alhamdulillah, had more than 80% Muslims in it. So the students, in majority were Muslims, more than 80% were Muslims, and maybe less than 10% were Christian. There were Hindus and other religious students from other religions also, but more than 80% were Muslims. But in spite of this, alhamdulillah, Allah stepped me on the straight path. So if you're going to a non-Muslim school where Muslims are majority, it is better than going to a non-Muslim school where Muslims are minority. But yet, if given the option, study in Islamic school, or second option is a Muslim managed school where majority are Muslim, as a last resort, if there's no option and if you feel that, okay, fine, the majority are Muslims and your deen is not in danger, which is difficult. So as a policy, the reason I say this is because when a child goes to a school, but now the teachers are considered as to be the guide, and most of the children, they consider the teacher to be, next. Many of the times, the student considers the teacher more knowledgeable even than the parents. Your father may be a doctor, he may be scientifically more qualified, having a bigger degree than the teacher, but for the child, the teacher is always right. Even if your father tells you something, he may be a medical doctor, but yet for the teacher, for the student, the teacher is always right. I'm talking about the pre-primary level or the primary level. As you keep on going and you keep on getting elder, you go to the secondary school and higher secondary school, you get more knowledge, you get more independent, and then you realize the teacher is not always right. So in this case, if you are going to a Christian missionary school, where they're talking about, Jesus, peace be upon him, no billah, as God, etc., and they do the morning prayers, which is wrong, So if you're going to a Christian missionary school, which has a morning prayer where you pray to Jesus every day, then it is haram. In our school, alhamdulillah, fortunately, there was no prayer which was involving shirk, so it was better than the other Christian missionary schools. So depending upon which Christian missionary school you're going to, are they forcing you to do something haram? If they're forcing you to do something haram, or do a prayer every day in which you are praying to Jesus, peace be upon him, then attending such a school is 100% haram. Sometimes there are Muslim managed school in which the Christian is the principal. And one such school was there in Dongri, where close to where I lived. And I was shocked when I saw the calendar. The Lord's Prayer was there. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. It's the verse of the Bible. We're praying to Jesus Christ. It's a Muslim managed school, but the principal was a Christian. The moment I came to know, I told my staff to contact the management, and then they removed it. Imagine in a Muslim managed school, just because the Christian was, and just because the principal was a Christian, more than 95% of the students were Muslim. Every day they were doing shirk. So, as a general policy, avoid going to a non-Muslim school, and they may be unknowingly may be involved in doing shirk, maybe getting impressed by things which are wrong, which are against Islam. So best is to go to an Islamic school. Next best option is a Muslim managed school, and avoid going to a Christian missionary or a non-Muslim managed school. The higher you go, this is talking at the lower age, maybe pre-primary or primary. The more you keep on getting older and you have more knowledge of your deen, at that time you say that can you go to a non-Muslim college? I would say yes. Best option again is an Islamic college, then a Muslim managed college, a Muslim managed college, then can be a non-Muslim managed college, because there you have become an adult, you know your deen, you have become matured, you are praying 5 times a day, alhamdulillah, then it is much more possible that you will not get involved in the haram activities because now you are an adult. But in the school days where just 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, how do you know what is haram and halal? And there are high chances that you may get involved in things which are haram. So as far as school is concerned, best is to attend an Islamic school or a Muslim managed school. Hope that answers.